So now it is my great honor to introduce our closing speaker from FDA. This is Dr. Greg Reaman. Dr. Reaman, he joined the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research within the Office of New Drugs at FDA as the Associate Director for the Office of Hematology and Oncology Products in 2011, having served for the previous 10 years as the founding and immediate past chair of the Children's Oncology Group. He is currently the Associate Director for Pediatric Oncology in FDA's Oncology Center of Excellence. And he is also a Professor of Pediatrics and Medicine at the George Washington University School of Medicine and Health Sciences, and is a member of the Center for Cancer and Blood Disorders at the Children's National Medical Center, which he directed for more than 17 years. That is just a little bit of the many accolades I could provide for Dr. Reaman, but I would like to welcome him to the stage to provide some closing remarks.
Thank you. I'm actually kind of speechless, and it's really probably one of the most difficult tasks I've been asked to do to try and summarize what I've heard today. And I just can't tell you how important it is for us at the FDA to hear you. And I can't tell you enough what a fantastic job you did in making us hear you. I've been practicing pediatric oncology for 40 years, and I've never experienced the strength and the courage of people coming forward and telling their stories quite as honestly and openly as you did. So it's had an impact on me personally, and I can assure you it's going to impact the FDA as well. I was struck by this being a silent disability. What an unfortunate play on words. I was struck, Kat, by your introduction and saying where you are now and the decisions that you had to make at the time of your son's diagnosis, that you wouldn't change anything. And you wouldn't change anything because you had the life of your son in your hands. But we have to change things. We as clinicians, we as investigators, we as regulators of new drugs. I also want to commend the organizers because although the agency has, as a result of the 21st Century Cures, really ramped up hearing the patient voice in drug development, unfortunately the patient voice never includes children. Children don't have a voice, according to the federal government. They don't vote, they don't pay taxes, they don't have a voice. So I think using this forum, having parents and survivors who may no longer be children provide input was a fantastic opportunity. I think the fact that this disability results in missing out on life was really brought home by Tyler's remarks. And I don't think any child whose life is saved as a cancer survivor should ever feel that they don't have a life. I mean, how terrible is that? I think no survivor deserves not feeling like they should be cool when they want to be cool. They shouldn't be embarrassed. They shouldn't be a target for bullies. They shouldn't experience social isolation and constant white noise. They shouldn't feel like they're always a burden because they require assistance all the time. And they shouldn't be made to feel like they need to avoid large groups. They shouldn't be fearful, they shouldn't be frustrated, and they shouldn't feel like their potential is limited. They're children. They should have unlimited potential like all children. I was struck by the fact that in over 80% people affected, the impact of hearing loss actually increases over time. So, when we talk about the risk-benefit considerations for pediatric cancer therapies, we are much more focused on immediate risks. As Dr. Ani pointed out, we're looking at long-term risks. It takes a very long time, and these are retrospective cohort studies that started 30, 40 years ago. We don't have 30, 40 years to do something about this, so we really have to start thinking differently. And I'm really impressed that 80% of you responded that you weren't aware that there were potential new therapy options, and there are therapy options in development. There's actually applications in-house for review right now that may make this a somewhat different picture in the future. I also agree that we need to do things a little bit differently as far as clinical trial design. Pediatric oncologists are historically risk-averse. We've done a fantastic job over the last 40 or 50 years improving the outcome for children with cancer. But it takes us a long time to start dialing down on the intensity of therapy to prevent late effects, to make sure that we can do that safely. So we really have to look at things differently. I think looking at preclinical models or looking preclinically or doing preclinical evaluation of new drugs for off-target effects. Right now, the real focus is on major organs, and they're the major organ concerns of adults: heart, kidney, liver, and neurologic system. But there's no reason why we couldn't evaluate hearing loss as well. I mean, this is a major toxicity of a drug that's probably used in about 60 to 70% of all children with solid tumors. And there's nothing on the horizon that looks like it's going to replace it in any time soon. So this is real. I'm impressed by the fact that what you feel could make the major impact is recovering some normal hearing. I'm not sure that there's anything really in development. I think stopping progression of ongoing hearing loss is something that clearly is important because we know that this is a progressive situation. And I think the fact that it was tied with the development of ototoxicity prevention strategies is really insightful, and I think that's some place where we really need to put a lot of attention. But I also think we really need to look at less toxic regimens. So ultimately, there needs to be a replacement for cisplatin, or at least a way that cisplatin could be given with an otoprotectant in all situations so that it's going to prevent hearing loss or prevent the ototoxicity of platinum therapy. So again, I just want to assure you that we've heard you, and I've heard this for some time, obviously, in practicing in this area. But I think we really need to evaluate things differently. This is a very, very serious disability, a very serious life-threatening, not life-threatening, but life-altering toxicity that can and must be dealt with, that can and must be considered in risk-benefit analysis of new drug therapy. So again, thank you for your fantastic discussions and for allowing us to participate in this. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Reaman. My name is George Dahlman. I'm the CEO of Children's Cause, one of the organizations that's sponsoring this or hosting it. And I don't know about the rest of you, but this has been such an exhilarating day. I mean, exhilarating in the sense that it's inspiring, frustrating, but also, I think, bonding and hopeful at the same time, in the sense that we all feel the same kinds of frustrations and potential outcomes and hopes that we have for development. I just want to thank everybody. This is my way of closing, my role to close this out, and just to say thank you for all the sponsors and who have helped make this possible, and for the partner groups who've helped do this, in particular, James, Kat, Christine, Jess, and of course, Julie, who has run the traps on this from beginning to end. When we started this, as Kat mentioned, quite a while ago, it's been about a year now since we filed with the FDA to have the blessing to do this meeting, which they gave to us very quickly. It's been like planning a wedding with a committee instead of just the mother-in-law. But it's been a great partnership, and we're so grateful, everybody. But in particular, we're so grateful for all the patients and all the caregivers and the families that have been willing to give of themselves to be part of this meeting. And I just hope that it's inspiring us to stay together and to keep the momentum going, both for the FDA and for the companies and for all of us as a community. I want to remind you all, which was brought up a couple of times, is this meeting was webcast live. And so there were people that were watching it. It's also going to be made available. It's taped, so it's available on all of the partners' websites. So you'll be able to go back over it again. We are also creating a voice of the patient. There's a transcript that you've been seeing, and there will be a development of a report afterwards, and everybody will be able to comment on that. And we really encourage more comments, just from the people here, but anybody else you know in the community who also has these issues and they want to contribute to it. As Maria had mentioned, the FDA really does want to hear from us, and they really take our contributions very seriously. So again, thank you so much for being part of this and contributing to this, and safe travels home. Thanks.